Morning everyone, Mag here, and it's about 9:45 in the morning, and it's the first day of WASD. It's Thursday, and I am here. Trueman Brewary is behind me. Look at that, there it is. Cut my head off. But yes, Trueman Brewary is behind me. There's a queue of people ready to get in, and doors open in 15 minutes. Very excited to see what the show has to bring to offer, and looking forward to meeting a lot of people that I'm going to be meeting today. And yes, what a wonderful venue the Trueman Brewary is, and it's my second time at WASD. And this was literally the show floor on the first day. Thursday was a sellout. This was amazing to see so many people there at the event. It was busy. It was so crazy. And this was like it for most of the day. So this event was even more popular than the one in September. And oh look, there's Nick from Debug. The first exhibit you saw when you walk in was a 1970s recreated living room. We're celebrating all things Atari, with the Atari 2600 and the other Atari computer being relaunched. And there were tons of games that you could sit on the cosy retro sofas and play, such as Missile Command, Berserk, and as you can see here, Robotron. There was other games like Combat and Outlaw, which really brought back memories of my childhood, because this was one of the first consoles that we ever owned. And I thought it was a really nice little touch that Atari did for the show. One of the biggest stands at WASD this year was the Devolver Digital stand, and you were greeted by this little fella. And why does he look familiar? That's because he's from Cult of the Lamb, and they were celebrating the launch of their new DLC, Sins of the Flesh, which had a 10-minute demo that you could play. It's funny because I'd actually forgotten how much fun Cult of the Lamb was, and I've not played it in a while. Obviously I played it when it came out in release, and this gives you more of the same amazing action, combat and strategy that you'd expect from the game, with the quirky characters and monsters, and I just jumped straight back into it. It's like a friend I hadn't seen in a while, and it just felt all familiar. Loved it. As I say, it was only a 10-minute demo, and I look forward to playing more of this, and will hopefully get me back into some more Cult of the Lamb. Now, one of the most anticipated games for me was Angerfoot, and here you have Jamie from the Gamer Guide giving it a little test run.
Okay,
That's looks tough. There you go. Mate, I promise that I'll edit this out and make you look really good. Behind you.
I want to see this jump through the window.
Oh. Go on, boot him. Boot him where you can. Now, this fast-paced action game was very popular at the show. You basically have to get your way through different buildings and rooms by literally kicking everything. You can grab guns, but they have limited ammo, and you can throw the guns at people and stun the bad guys. It's very funny, it's very violent, and the whole thing is about the fact that this guy has had his favourite trainers kidnapped by some dirty cops, and then goes on a rampage. Yes, it's that kind of game, and I can't wait to play it. Here is Jamie with some of his thoughts about playing the game. Jamie from the Gamer Guide, he's just been playing a bit of Angerfoot. What were your thoughts?
It's good fun. It's fast-paced. There's learning curve, and you have to die and learn constantly the level. So yeah, I died a lot.
Would you say it's more like a puzzle action game than just a straight-out action game?
I mean, someone more skilled than me would probably see it as an action game. But yeah, I think you learn where the enemies are, because it's quite limited ammo with like each run, and you have to kick people a lot instead, and you die really quickly. So it's something that you have to solve. learn the level through, and they will beat it that way.
Sweet. Cheers, Jamie. Nice one. Thanks. I love this game so much that we had to get Pete and Kylie to play it from Rapid Reviews. And while they were playing it on the Friday, a certain person appeared.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
That was perfect. That's so good. Released 2 weeks ago, Children of the Sun is a puzzle sniper game that also is on the Devolver stand. Again, I had good fun playing this, figuring out where you've got to go, get the tactical shots, because it's not a case of doing one shot at a time. It's a shot from one person to the next person to the next. So you have to make sure that you've got those clear shots. And the final game on the Devolver stand was this really peculiar game called Cricket for the Ages. Now, if any of you are sitting there going, "Oh, sport, boring," this is not a sport game. This is like a weird... I don't know what this is, but I enjoyed it, and it's just weird, random games where you can hit each other with bats or golf clubs, or, as you'll see, umbrellas. There's ducks that fly out the sky, and they throw bowling balls at each other, and you are playing against each other, but it's such a bizarre game, but it was very, very funny, and I can't wait to see more of this game. Harvest Hunt was a game that was giving me a few DVD vibes in the terms of you're going around sort of a cornfield, going around collecting things. Now, I got the gist that it was like sort of semi-horror, but also semi-mystery game. There was a talk about this game on the main stage that our friend Dave Walker M was demoing the game. I didn't really get to get hands on this, but I am intrigued to find out more because a lot of people were playing this during the show. Another game that was very popular on the show floor for the 3 days was Slope Crashers, a snowboarding racing game that you can play with your friends. But it has elements of like Mario Kart because you can get different power-ups and things to hinder your opponents as you go down those slippery slopes. Yogscast were back for 2024 with a new game that's coming out in August, which is the Holy Gosh Darn. Last year they had their Plate Up game on display, but this is a game that has some familiar characters from other Yogscast games and looks fairly intriguing, I have to say. A game that I got to play, which was made by just one developer at the show, was Birdie Island. I got to play this for a good 10-15 minutes. You basically fly around doing quests, speaking to characters or other birds and finding about what's going on in the island, how you can help them, whether this be to do with pollution or randomly pooping on farmers' heads. There was quite a lot of fun stuff and Easter eggs to find on this game, and I love the attention to detail and the fact that your bird had a stamina meter and the fact that it needed to eat and do numerous things. You have to constantly look after it. So yeah, it's kind of a RPG of being a bird in that respect. But yeah, I would look out for this one. This looks really good. But please, don't drown the birds. On this stand we had a couple of different games to play. Scold, Zetzillion, Whisper, Mountain, Outbreak and Kriegsfront Tactics. All different types of games, but the one thing that set these slightly different than the others is that you could actually talk to the devs online. So while you were playing the game, you were giving them feedback of what you liked, what you didn't, what worked, what didn't, and basically gave your opinions, which I thought was rather cool. Now, the one game that I spent most of the time on this stand was Whisper Mountain Outbreak. This had top-down Resident Evil vibes. I spent about 15-20 minutes playing this game. You could see that they'd taken certain aspects from certain horror games before, but it made a nice little twist. It reminded me if you mixed Smash TV with Resident Evil. Over on the Playtonic stand, we had 4 games. We had Corporation, The Sorting Process, Little Gator Game, which came out a couple of weeks ago, Elsie, and the Racer Victory Heat Rally. Also, Annie, who was at the debug event, was there, basically running a competition for you to get the fastest lap on said Victory Heat Rally. I spent most of my time playing Elsie, which is a cool, brings back memories of NES games, action game, roguelike, and then obviously here with Victory Heat Rally, reminded me of the good old days of playing Outrun, but this was a great little racing game, loved every minute of it. Now, my friends over at P-Cube invited me to play their latest game, Nano Apostle, which is a top-down Souls-like. Basically, what we also call is a boss rush, where you basically get new abilities and you face more and more difficult bosses. Learn their tactics, learn their moves, and try not to die. The thing is, it gives you a bit of insecurity, because when you think you've just figured out that you've killed the boss, it comes back in another way, and you have to start again. So expect to die again, and die again. Or in my case, die about 5,000 times before even getting anywhere close to beating the first boss of this game. But it's pretty awesome, and check it out. I'm sure I'll be covering it for a feature at P-Cube. Also, a game that was back from EGX, which is now at WASD, was The Wonderful Pine Hearts, and here is Melissa to tell you a little bit more about that.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm the social media community coordinator for Pine Hearts. It's a cozy, wholesome narrative adventure game set in the heart of Scotland, where you play as Kite, returning to reach the summit of the mountain that you used to climb with your dad. And yeah.
There you go. So obviously the first time I got to play this was EGX last October. How's the game progressed since we last saw it?
So since we last saw it, we've managed to add in a lot more of our accessibility features. There's only a couple that are available within the demo so far, but we're hoping to have 10 for launch that will be included in the game. We've also finished adding in all the content. We're just finishing up with polish just now. It's come on a long way, and I'm excited to show everybody just how much work has gone into it. The team's worked so hard, and there's so much love and passion been poured into it.
Have we got a rough release window yet, or?
We don't have an official date. We've said Q2, so sometime very soon should be coming out.
Brilliant, thank you, Melissa. I look forward to it. Thank you. Cheers. Now, Starship Troopers Touring Command came out, more than a year ago, but it was back at the show because it had a brand new DLC for you to play. If you never got to grips with the game in the first place, they had a little training area where you could try out the game, and then if you were up to the challenge, you could win a t-shirt by playing the brand new Raising Hell DLC. And there are some people taking on that challenge right now. A game that I really enjoyed that I played on the Friday morning was Odinfall from Fireshine Games. This is a runaround shooter, collect the different guns, sort of rogue-like dungeon crawler, but obviously you're not in dungeons. Gave me Enter the Gungeon vibes, because you're constantly swapping out weapons, finding the best things to do, tackling different enemies, and just basically it's a bullet hell game as well, because there's elements where it just goes absolutely crazy. But look out for this one. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Another game that was hugely popular was Outrage Fight Fest. Basically a 4 versus brawler, an absolute chaos game. It gives me vibes of Gang Beasts and Party Animals, where you're going around just trashing things and trashing people and fighting against each other in crazy scenarios. For people who wanted something with a bit more strategy and a bit less action, there was a wonderful bootleg streamer where you are quested on bootlegging lots of different items around different islands and making sure that you don't get caught and making sure that your deliveries get there on time. It's a great little strategy game which you should check out. Besides the main room, there was another room that was full of games. This had the official London selection for the London Games Festival. Loads of games on the Steam Deck that you can play. And there were universities showing off some of their games that they're releasing, such as Wrexham University. But there was a whole heap of selection. They had them on the Steam Deck for all different games that you might not have heard yet, or you might have actually played. As well as that, there was the Curios section, which has the one dev teams. People like the wonderful Alistair, who you just saw there, who makes Bib Goes Home, showing off his wonderful games, and other devs as well. Plus a few extra games that were in this hall that are worth a mention, such as Die by the Blade, which literally comes out in May, and The House of Tesla. They are both worth checking out. As well as meeting lots of game devs, you always bump into some of your favourite content creators and podcasters. Here I am recording the second day of the Rapid Reviews podcast with Kylie and Pete, along with Ollie and Tim from Retro Gaming Revival. We spent 3 days recording our thoughts on what games we loved for the Rapid Reviews podcast, which you can check out now. I also got to meet the wonderful Sarah, also known as Big Fuzzy Yak, a wonderful content creator who I met on the Thursday and saw every day during WASD. And here's us taking a selfie with our other mate. Yes, it's Miss Antics, or as we call her, Misty, shrouded in mystery with her mask on. But yeah, it was great to see Misty on the Friday and Saturday as well. So, some other content creators that I didn't realise were going to the event were the wonderful Kim Justice and our friend DJ Slope. Now, I have to do a big shout out to Slope here because he basically did a ton of filming on the first day, on the Thursday, and then went back home that night. And by the time the show had opened on the second day, his YouTube video about the show was already live. Now, that's dedication for you. So, absolutely fantastic video. Go check it out. Also, Mr. Dan from Debug was there, and they were doing numerous interviews with the devs and people, and basically broadcasting that the new issue of Debug is out now. Go get it, folks. Also, another magazine that I'm a big fan of is The Gamer Guide. And as you saw earlier, Jamie was there for the 3 days. And I want to say a big thank you to Jamie for interviewing me for some little snippets that you will no doubt see on Insta and TikTok over the next couple of weeks. So go check them out. A couple of games that our friends at Dead Good BR are promoting is we've got firstly Grapple Dogs, which is the sequel to the amazing Grapple Dog. Now, I love this game and played it on the Nintendo Switch a couple of years ago, and this is Grapple Dogs Cosmic Chaos. They've added new mechanics, they've added a new character, and you bounce between the original character and the new one, and it's such a good fun platformer. As I say, I loved the first game, and there was 4 different levels and demos to play of this. I got to play one of them, but it was such good fun, and I can't wait for this to come out. Also, next to this game was Terry's Turbo Trip. Kirsty from Dead Good said, I really need to try this. And this was an insane, very funny, very comical game where you basically just need a car. You just want a car, and you end up getting a job as a taxi driver, and it is an open world exploration game where you basically go around, collect things, and cause chaos. Imagine GTA if it was in a very bizarre world. Look out for this one, it's great fun. Now, on the Saturday night, we were invited to the launch of Arcade Paradise VR. We got some free beer, we got some free t-shirts, and people got to play the fantastic Arcade Paradise, which is now on VR and launched that weekend. Big thank you to Wired Productions for inviting us to the special party. Another Fireshine game that I tried out was Kadamon, the Hyper Auto Battler, where it's a card battler, but you basically set up your deck and get it ready and then let it do the battling for you, very much in a way that you get some games that are battlers and you can just set it to run automatically, but you have to put the strategy in to make sure that when it runs automatically, you actually win. Another cutesy little game that I tried out on the Friday evening was Fruit Bus. Imagine Overcooked if it was in 3D, but has a very sad tale that your little food truck has run into dismay and not been used for 10 years, and you're going to rebuild it up and for one last time get that fruit business going. This is a cosy little game to look out for. Now, there was 2 stages this year at WASD. We had the career stage, which ran for 3 days, giving advice to upcoming devs, whether it be to do with artwork, whether it be sound design, whether it be actual level design, working with community managers, how to actually get a foot in the door. It was jam-packed full of content over the 3 days. But we also had the main stage, which only ran on Friday and Saturday, but featured lots of playthroughs from different games and different devs. Now, one of the talks that I went to see on the Saturday at 10:45 was hosted by Debug Magazine, and you can see Andrew, the editor, and Dan, the owner of Debug, there, talking to the dev from the game Paper Trail, which comes out in May. This is a superb game, a great puzzle game with some very atmospheric sounds and music, and you definitely need to check this one out. A cool little platformer that I got to play, which gave me Platonic and rare vibes, was Himble Adventures. Now, yes, at first it does look like this is go collect the fruit and, you know, jump on platforms and get enemies, but it's so much more than that, because you have technically 4 different health bars, all to do with oversensory. So if you touch things that are prickly, that is your senses, that things that smell bad, that can affect you, bright lights can affect you, and it's basically a game all set around people who have neurodiversity. I thought this was phenomenal, and I can't wait to play more of this and check this out, but I thought this was a really good idea for a game, and the fact that you have to be very aware of all different aspects made this a lot more interesting than a lot of platformers that come out these days. And here I am with JB Chicken Nuggets, who is playing a game called Piece Together. Now, if you like games like A Little to the Left, this is ideal for you. You basically are given a scrapbook with different information, and you need to piece the, whether it's the badges, the postcards, the paper clippings, to basically make the scrapbook correct. You can move the pieces around and find out what's right, what's not, use the clues to basically help you out, figure out how the game is. But yeah, we like the look of this and got to play this, and it was lots of good fun.
Pretty cool.
There you go, you liking it? one game that was back from the show in September was Alien Hominid Invasion from the wonderful people at the Behemoth. Now, some of you may know that I covered this game back in December, but got to speak to John, who's in the middle there with the bright shirt, and his wonderful team, along with Old Squire, Risa Spoken, and Big Fuzzy Yak, as we got to play the game a little bit more. But it's a great game, and you definitely should check it out if you haven't. It's really good fun. Thank you to John and his team for making us so welcome. Now, Conscript is a war game where you are trapped in a bunker along with your companions, and you're trying to find and solve the puzzles to get out and obviously attack the enemy. This game is a bit of a thinker for me. There was times that I was confused as what I was doing, but that's mainly down to my brain power and not anybody else's, because there's some people that progressed through it quite quickly. But I do like the style of the game. Had sort of Metal Gear vibes to it, but yeah, going around solving the puzzles, seeing where you got to go, shooting the enemies, all makes for quite a really cool game in that setting. A couple other games that also brought to my attention were Sin Cognito, Sleep Swimmer, and Steambots. All little cracking little games. Steambots was the one that caught my eye the most. A little puzzle game where you have to move your little robots around different mazes and tasks and figure out what buttons do what. And my final game that I thoroughly enjoyed was Sleepy Time Village, a point-and-click adventure where you are a stressed businessman whose relationship is failing and falls asleep in the back of a taxicab to wake up in a mysterious world with a sort of story time narrator and all these other funny creatures. It has got a very good sense of humour and can be very much an adult-themed game, but I did like the fact that it has an option that you can turn on and off the swears, which is kind of making it semi-family friendly. I got to try out 30-minute demo of the game, and I want to say a big thank you to Lightfoot Bros for talking to me afterwards and telling me a little bit more about this rather charming and fascinating game. And that is it for another WASD. 3 days well spent playing some amazing indie games and talking to some wonderful devs and content creators. And I have to say, this footage is from literally as the event was closing on the Saturday. So this is how busy it still was at the end of the final day. It was absolutely rammed all 3 days, and I would say that it was even more popular than the event back in September. I do hope that they do a second event this year. If not, I can't wait to go back next year. But WASD was absolutely superb. A big thank you to all the team at Roucon and WASD, especially Rachel, David and Matt for inviting me. It was an absolute pleasure to be here for my second time, and I can't wait for the next show. So that's it from me. I will be back at more events around the UK and further afield. But big thank you to everybody that I met, spent time talking to, having interviews with, or featuring on podcasts with, and just generally hanging around and having a beer with. This is Middle-Aged Gamer Guy, also known as Mags, signing off from WASD London.